All right, we're live. I'll go tell the world. Streaming game dev making mechs fall down. Paste. All right. So today what we're going to try and do is make it so that you fall over. The whole point of this game is that if your balance is bad, you'll run weird to let the player know that you're about to fall over. But if you just run weird all the time, it just makes you look silly. So we need to make you fall over. I've looked up a couple of things, and rather than creating an animation for it, I think I'm going to try the Ragdoll approach. The only problem I've got is I don't know for sure how it's going to see. This is the fall over animation. I don't want you to keep running like this. What happened to this? Why is there no hole in the wall? I must have dragged the hole somewhere. That's weird. Sorry, I'm going to fix this before we do that. I just don't know when the ragdoll turns off what it's like, and that's a problem, because I don't know if we can make the mech get back up very cleanly. But I don't know enough about mech stuff. Look, all of the negative boxes are not working. Has this got something to do with me putting them inside of a directory? Did they screw up because they're inside a directory? That's kind of bullshit. Let's try grouping them instead. Control G. Then we can move them out of the small warehouse directory. How do you tell this that you don't want it to be in a... There we are. Move to root. That'll work. Move the whole thing to root. So the group actor is stuck within the small warehouse. So let's break the group. And then group. But even with that in mind, I still can't... One of the negative brushes works. Oh, this was the wrong idea. Let's just undo all of this shit. Why does this one work? I don't know what's going on. We'll leave it for now. We'll come back to it later. Anyway, to make mech fall over, I was thinking about just using the ragdoll approach. Don't really know for sure that's going to work for a couple of reasons, but we'll give it a shot. I can always do animations if I have to later. But there are a couple of pieces to this puzzle that I'm not very confident in, so we're going to find out pretty quickly whether or not it is viable. So just going into the mesh setup, I think that's the character. There it is, mech character. Here's the character, and basically we have this setup where it calculates out the, that's the raw yaw, there's the balance. Calculates out this balance, and what we want to do is we want to check and see whether or not the balance is over 100, because if it's over 100 or higher, because if it's 100 or higher, then we fall over. So there's got to be a switch which allows us to fire an event, right? Let's try it. Switch. I really don't understand this. Why would it be built like this? In what possible situation would I ever want actions that aren't even loaded into the project to clog this setup? Look at this. This is like literally 700 lines of switch on specific class. Why shouldn't it just be switch on arbitrary class and then give me either an option of classes or autocast it or something? This is just terrible. And this is one of the biggest problems I've got with Unreal right now. When you type in something to try and find it, it does not help you find it. It's like, oh, fuck you. Did you mean any of these things that have nothing in common with what you wrote, but actually have some of the same letters involved? No, I want, like, the thing that everybody uses all the goddamn time. And I don't know why it's such a pain in the ass for us. All right, so if we want to get the switch, we are going to have to do a Google search for Unreal switch node, flow control switch nodes. There are several types of switches available: int, string, name, and num. And so what we need to do is we need to correctly search for switch int. There it is, hidden in the middle of that garbage list of useless shit that nobody needs. Ugh. Now here's the question. It's not even int, it's float, but whatever. Funny, there doesn't seem to be a float listed here. Well, either way, there's no valid switch float. Okay, so how do I do it with a float then? This is one of those situations that's so common in Unreal where it's like, oh yeah, it's super easy if you already know how. Alright, well, let's just use the generic flow control switches. There's no fucking flow control. It's under utilities, okay. So this is the branch. Okay, so what I needed to do is to search for branch, not switch. Of course. There we are. And so the idea here is that we're going to need to have this branch. So it's... boom. And we're going to need a condition. We need to be able to set that condition. So what we need to do is have something that outputs a Boolean. So do I need a switch here after all? I mean, I guess I should have a fall over Boolean anyway, right? Let's try that. Fall over. So the fall over Boolean will just tell us whether we've fallen over or not. Pretty easy. So we'll pass that in as the condition. This is complicated. Hold on. I'm trying to think about how to do this. If this was code, I could do it pretty easily. But when I'm trying to do it with switch statements, I have to think about it some more. Rather, not switch statements, with a lack of switch statements. There's probably the correct way to do this. But basically, I want to make the character fall over if the balance is too high. So what I need to do is, if the balance is 100 or higher and the player hasn't fallen over yet, I need to access some code. So here, we'll take this fall over. There's got to be other ways to do conditions, right? Is there like a whole conditions thing? No. Why does switching only allow for ints? I'm a little confused here. It's one of those basic things that I haven't been able to find a tutorial on, maybe because I just don't happen to know the right words. Unreal, if float above value, do something, blueprint. We deliver to Poland. Where does that come from? In range. So they've got an in range, which seems to do what I need. They've also got an if then. Hold on, this guy's just asking about if thens. He's like, hey, what the fuck am I trying to do here? So they've got a multi-gate option. Don't know what that is. I don't think it's what I need, though. Then they've got a compare float. Okay, so it's not a switch, it's a compare. So now we've got switch, branch, and compare, all of which do the same fucking thing, but have very, very slightly different inputs. They should just be one node, and it should automatically adapt which node it is under the hood based on what I connect to the inputs. This is not rocket science. Why is this like this? Yuck. Anyhow, let's get that compare float. So now we need to do a Boolean switch based on whether we've fallen over or not yet. So let's do it's not a switch, it's branch. What I really need is a, you know what, this might be what the multigate is for. Unreal multigate. Executes a series of pins in order. Yes, that is in fact exactly what I want. Alright, so there's got to be an easier way to do it though, right? I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be easy. It just has to fucking work. So we'll move this over here. I'll do this, and then we'll do this. There we go. And we'll just move this so that it doesn't suck quite so much. Don't need this. Don't know how to get rid of it, though. Let's just Google that while we're Googling things. Unreal delete blueprint connection. Hold Control. Okay, that doesn't seem right. Alt-click. Okay, alt-click, that's correct. Holding Control lets you re-drag it somewhere else, but Alt is what does the job. All right, good enough, good enough. I thought it was something easy, because it would be very strange if they didn't bother to make that work. So here we've got this multi-gate, and all it's going to do is make it do both of these things. And basically, if we haven't fallen over yet, then we want to fall over. So we'll set the bool. That's true. And then we're also going to need to do some other work. So let's go ahead up here and add a comment. If we need to fall over, fall over. So if we are going to do the fall over, we also have to actually set up the bit where we fall over, which I think involves being able to get the character mesh and set a whole bunch of values. So let's drag the character mesh in here. Chapow, there's our mesh. And we're going to want to physics. Set all bodies, simulate physics. Why are there two of these? Reset versus set, that's fine. And I think what we actually have to do is like just a crap ton of these. There's 3 commands that we have to set apparently, and we'll just set all 3 of them. Set simulate physics. See, this is weird. You'd think that set simulate physics and set all bodies simulate physics would be like the same. You think that one would be inclusive of the other, and it might be. It might be one of those things where it's this is just something I'm reading online, and it could very easily be that somebody doesn't know what they're fucking talking about. So we'll test it later. If this works, we'll just disconnect that particular piece and have it work. Wake all rigid bodies. All right, so I don't actually know whether that's going to cause us to fall over, but I do know that it's not actually going to stop us from being able to control the mech. That's a different set of operations that we'll get to in a minute here. So I've compiled it, and we're going to go ahead and test it. So to do that, we're going to want to make sure that we have the mech selected. Where's our mech actor? Mech character, there they are. For some reason, we look like we are falling over already. Why are we falling over already? Where's our custom stuff? Is this one of those things where the custom stuff isn't actually visible on the mech character? Or did I just miss it because I was going... Here it is. So our balance is at 0, which should mean that we're quite steady. I don't really know why we're doing this wobbly dance. The only thing I can think of is that maybe that pin... this isn't doing what I want it to do. So, is it loop? Is that what I need to do? I'm actually not sure if this multigate does what I need to do. It's one of those things where I just wanted to do both of those. Let's check the flow. There's probably a better flow setup for that. Utilities, flow, branch. So yeah, I want to fork, not just branch. Do n, is that what I want? Do n. That just does it a million times. There's a for loop. Gate, multi-gate. Sequence. This is probably what I want. It's a sequence. I knew this was too complicated. I just needed to use a sequence instead. That's better. The multigate is beefier than what I need, and the default execution is a little different than what I need. I'll go ahead and compile that and try it one more time here. Boom. Perfect. So now if we run for a little while, we should trigger the fall down event. Come on, fall down. We might have already triggered it. I think we already triggered it. Let's take a look. There's our fall over. We didn't fall over yet. There's our balance of 100. Oh, am I having... I think I've got it backwards, don't I? The balance of 100 is good, not bad. I'm sorry, I was thinking that the balance was going the other direction. So we're going to compare it with 0 instead of 100. And we are going to reverse the compare float. No biggie. Should be the same basic setup. So we'll hit play here and select the mech character. And we'll see what happens when we drop it down to 0. Fallover never gets triggered. There's something wrong here. Oh, I have it so that if fall over is set to true, it sets fall over to true. I had obviously intended to do that the other way. One more time. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Try that again. Crash. I mean, that's... So I can't separate the camera from the mech. How do I separate the camera from the mech while I'm in this mode? There we are. Unfortunately, I think that killed the player. No, it's right there. Okay, so the mech character here. There he is. So what happened is I turned on the correct settings, but I think that the mech character themselves might be set up incorrectly. Why isn't it? That's the weirdest thing about Unreal. They really force you over to using this. So I think that I know that I have a mech character, rigid body, you know, fall over, Ragdoll thing. I've actually got it. It imported one of those. The question is, how do I tell this creature to do that? Sockets, transform, skeletal mesh, skin cache. Physics material. Collision presets. Come on. Skeletal mesh. Skip stimulating bones. Skip all bones. Defer kinematic bones. No skeleton updates. Mary Kistner says same, which unfortunately I have been going for so long that I wasn't paying attention, and I don't know what they're saying same to. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and search Unreal. I'm not in Chrome. That would be a disaster. Let's search for it in Firefox, like actual humans do. Unreal. Ragdoll. How do I make a character Ragdoll? Let's go ahead and find out here. How do I make a character Ragdoll? First response on Google. Go here and check out this question instead. Why is it the first response on Google if it's just a link to a different question? Create physics asset. Go to the character folder. Open up the level blueprint. Now there's something wrong here. What am I misunderstanding? I'm supposed to change the collision presets from character mesh to ragdoll. But I don't want it to be ragdoll all the time. I want it to be ragdoll when I need it to be ragdoll. That should be pretty fucking obvious. Okay, so I have to set collision enabled for starters. So one of the things I didn't do here is actually enable the collision, I guess. You would think that that would be something that would be already enabled given that we're walking around. But I guess that's using the capsule collider. Set collision enabled. New type. Collision enabled. Let's try it. And if we don't fall through the ground again, we know we're on the right track. But I know that there are Ragdoll assets, and I know that I have a Ragdoll asset. It got imported. It's right here. There, that one. That will actually like fall over or something. So the question is whether Unreal knows that exists. Excuse me. I'm going to hiccup at you for a little bit here. Oh, Mary Kissna says they also lose their balance and fall through the world a lot. Yeah, it happens. Come on. Fall over, fall. There we are. Okay, so you can see that it worked. Now what actually happened here is that the character object dissociated from the mech. We're walking around using the exact same rules as usual as if we were a mech, but our mesh has wandered off to do its own thing. And it did the right thing, sort of. You can see how these legs came off. Now the reason the legs came off is because in the skeleton, those legs are detached bones. They're not specified as being attached in Blender, they're specified as being detached. So for some reason in the physics setup, that causes them to just go wherever they want and they fall off. But you can see that this is not going to be a good solution for us because we can't have the mesh wander off on its own. We might have to create like a fall animation instead, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not ideal. The only issue with creating a fall animation is that I would have to do 4 of them, which doesn't seem ideal. If we go over into the physics asset itself and load that up, here you can see it. See this? This weird ass segment is a sign that these bones aren't properly connected, but the arms aren't connected properly either. So I don't know why the arms didn't fall off. Maybe they did fall off and they just happened to stick around in a weird way. If we look at this, we can see we've got some constraints happening here. Constraint upper body, constraint lower arm. And let's see what happens when we talk about the legs here. Leg, constraint shin. So there's no constraint for the leg against the lower body. And that's probably why this is doing what it's doing. Can I add a new constraint? Yeah, so if we check on lower body here, boom. Oh, it exploded. Okay, so now when I select leg L, it has a lower body constraint. That was a strange thing to have happen. Okay, do it again, lower body. Where's the lower body? Lower body, there it is, boom. Okay, so now we've got both of these bound to the lower body with that constraint. That should, in theory, have it so that they regenerate the body, so why not? In theory, this should work so that we don't lose the legs when we fall over. I don't know why the arms are bound, but the legs aren't. But the problem is I'm not actually sure that this is going to work at all, because I just basically need the mech to crumple. Yeah. So I don't mind it doing stuff like that. I can probably tweak it, but I need the character to go with it. I need this character object to stay tethered to the mech. Also, that's a very silly way for it to fall. There's probably some way to fix that a little bit. Let's go ahead and see if we can polish that just a little bit, and then we'll try and affix our character to it. Let's check it out. Let's ask Unreal. Once again, not in that shape. Here we are. So, Unreal, Ragdoll, character, camera left behind. How to make the camera follow my ragdoll character. When you ragdoll your character, the actor stays still. Here's my solution. If your character is dead, have the tick update on the actor to follow the ragdoll. Warping the actor like this will ignore physics collisions. That's probably what I'll do. And then the asshole. For once, it was the asshole asker who botched it instead of the asshole, person who didn't do it. So they've got this set up where they just teleport the actor to the same position all the time, which is what we'll do. But first I want to see if I can weight these bones a little bit. I want to make it so that they have a different mass and don't flop around quite so wildly. Primitive type capsule, vertex weighting, dominant weight, auto orient to bone, walk past small bones, create body for all bones, disable collisions, angular constraint mode. Okay, so we can set the mass in kilograms manually. It gets set pseudo automatically as well, but we could make it much heavier. But it's not the heaviness that's the problem. It's the way that the damping, or rather the way that these legs and stuff just kind of go wherever they want. What we would ideally want to do is limit their motion rather considerably. Let's see when we have these legs, let's see if we can just lock these leg bones. Is there a way to constrain them? Create constraints. Constraint mode locked. Okay, so that one also is locked. Are they all locked? Damn it. Okay, so that's not a per bone thing. That is something that the whole shebang gets linked to. So let's select this and then come over here and try and figure out a way. So that adds just constraints, and that's it. And they can't be altered. If we just select both of these legs and then set their linear dampening to 1 and their angular dampening to 1, do you think that would make it so that they don't kind of flip around quite as much? The problem is I'm not actually sure whether or not the leg R and leg L are going to be noticeable. So we're going to change these as well. And let's see what happens when we kind of just take a look at how that feels when we fall over. Oh, I forgot to. That's fine. We'll do it in a couple of steps. No biggie. Well, they actually feel substantially better, but they also feel really silly. There's something. I thought that I'd be able to configure the ragdoll shape's angles of operations. Like I thought I would be able to set up the way that they flex. You think I would? I think there's probably a way to, and it's probably not in here. We'll have to figure it out. We're gonna go ahead and mark those, and then we'll save it. And we'll go over here into the mecha character. So the idea is that every tick, there's the event tick, we're going to want to set up this, first off, this sequence should go over here. That'll be a little cleaner. Yeah, it's not a little cleaner though. My bad. This would have to go up here as well, because we don't want to We don't want to do that outside. This is all the balance related stuff here. It would be a shame if it were to do something weird. And that should do it. So then what happens is every tick we're going to want to also, if we have fallen over, move ourselves. So we're going to just move the character. Let me close that window, go over here and look at this window. So we need the mesh. We need to get the location. And we need to set actor location. Yeah, something like that. So basically that should allow us to follow along. We shall see now-ish. Oh, okay. I forgot to actually put the if statement in. My bad. And I also closed the window because I'm not very bright. There it is. You can see how we just do this all the time when what we actually want to do is just do a switch. So move this. Switch. It's just a switch, whereas it's not a switch, it's a branch. All right, let's try it again, this time without the strange drifting. Well, it's certainly not behaving terribly well. We might be able to work with that. Now the question is, what happens when we try and get back up? So that's the next step. We're going to program a get back up portion. And that could do anything. So let's see what it does do when we do it. So here is the if we need to fall over section. And we can just copy this entire set. Copy, paste. If we need to get up, get up. And do I just turn these off? And then we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. So we'll set file over to false, and if this is currently true, we want to set file over to false. So we'll just delete that. And if it is, delete this, move this. I might have to move it. Whoopsie doopsie. There we go. That should do the trick. Maybe. It does what I intended to do. The question is whether or not Unreal and I agree on what that is supposed to do. Wah! Alright, so here you can see that it kind of fixed it, but there's a couple of issues here. First is that it fired before I was ready. I don't actually want it to do that. We're going to want another compare float up here. because you can't get back up until your balance is back at 100%. The second problem we have is that fallover getting set to false didn't seem to properly happen because we were still teleporting this. And if fallover is false, it shouldn't be teleporting. Let's try it again. Alright, so you can see how the mech is now just no longer attached to the character. Steele says, did you drop the game you were making in Unity? Rather, I dropped the computer and all of the hard drives died. So I didn't drop it on purpose, I'll tell you, but I just switched over to Unreal. It seemed like a good time to do so. But I'm still very early on in trying to figure out how Unreal works, as you can see here. It appears that Unreal has some differences between it and Unity. But since there's no longer any of the data from the diving game, I'm afraid it's never going to happen. Now, the question is, how do I either reattach the mech character? Well, it's not all bad, Steel. That was the last game I was planning to make in Unity, and there was no particular reason to do it. I mean, it wasn't a game where I was learning anything. I was learning a couple of things, but they were very Unity specific, and I was getting out of Unity. So it's a blessing in disguise. Still, I wish that Unreal was a little bit easier to learn. Well, let's ask ye internet. Unreal Ragdoll turn off. When you ragdoll the mesh, it will detach and flop around. When you turn off simulation, the bones are going back to their original position, but the new location and rotation remains. You need to revert the mesh's local rotation and location back to what it should be. And then you need to reattach the capsule. So reattaching is the part that I don't understand. Let's take a look here. Attached to deprecated. Great, so it was deprecated when this question was answered, and that was probably like fucking 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. Well, we'll see if we can figure out what the other one is here. So, let's take a look at what that position is inside of our character. If it's 0, nice and easy. Here it is. It's not 0. It's something very specific. So I guess we better save it. Was there a rotation? Yes, but we'll just go ahead and memorize the rotation. That's going to be a float of 4. And so when we are setting the fallover value, we are going to want to grab the position and then set it. So to do that, we're just going to get the world position of the mesh. Just move this here. Move all of this over to the right. Not the whole box, just the things inside the box here. And then we need to use this and get the world position. Here it is. And then we will simply set the original mesh position. Shaboom. And then up here, we're going to do the opposite. It should be pretty straightforward too. We should just do both at the same time. All right, so the new location is going to be our original mesh position. And the new rotation is negative 270. And that should do, right? I think that'll be fine. We shall see. The only thing is we didn't reconnect it, so we have to attach it. I think that's probably it, but do I want to attach a component to a component or an actor to a component? Attaches the root component of this actor to the supplied component. Okay, I think I want this. Yeah, so we'll just drag this all the way back out here. Parent. No, no, no. That's target. What? Okay. So is that not an actor? All right, that's not a big deal. There we are. And then the parent will be this, right? It's inside the capsule collider. Maybe. Let's try it out. Crash. All right, so if we then try and collide and roll over and die, come on, there we are. Crash, crash, crash. And then so apparently our relative position is very silly. See that? That's us over there on the horizon. Attempting to move it fully, so use the sim, use the teleport. We'll go ahead and teleport it then if that's the thing that matters. Teleport. Is that really all we needed? To just change the teleport value? Because that seemed like it was a relative positioning error, and that's something that you normally only get if it doesn't actually move when you tell it to move. Oh no, wait, you know what it is? We need to attach it and then move it, because we need to set the relative position, not the yeah, okay. So we'll just move this to the back of the queue. Well, let's find out. Whoa. Well, I think that one was just being a little silly. Let's try that one more time. So there's a lot of possible problems here. A lot of possible reasons for this problem, rather. So one of the possible reasons is that the local position is not what's being transferred. You can see we're not where we should be. So when I set the position here, I really want to set the local position down here when we do this. We want to set this as a local value, but we get the world location because we're really fucking stupid. So instead what we want is the local location. I guess the socket location is what we want. Or is it the relative location? I don't know the difference. Let's get the relative location. What is this little dot dot thing? Why does this thing have a ball sack? What is that? Does that mean it's related to objects? I don't know. Anyway, here we get set world location and rotation, and obviously that should be set relative location and rotation. Oh, to the mesh. There we are. Basic problems that you learn about when you're doing game dev. Every engine has its own names for those things. There we are, and that was just me being cringeworthy, forgetting that I was taking the world locations. Why did I do that? Very trivial. All right, so obviously that is very silly. The good news is that it sort of worked. The bad news is that the mech is pointed in 100% the wrong direction. So did I get the 270 backwards? Let's try that out. Take a look here. Mech character. Oh, I guess it has to be in this editor. Oh, it is positive 270. Eh, well, no biggie. So we'll stop. Change it to positive 270. Compile it. Oh yeah, and the other thing we need to do is when we are chasing the mech, here in this, you can see how we get this world location and we just make a new location. We're going to go ahead and add in some offset to that just so that we don't keep dropping into the dirt. So we're going to go ahead and add some values here. There we go. Alright, so it's very goofy, but it does work. Now, as I said, there's no animation of the mech collecting itself. It just kind of... boop. So what I really want to do is have it go towards a specific fallen animation. So, or a specific fallen pose. And then I will do an animation for it getting back up. I don't want to have it just pop into existence like that. It's not, it's very goofy. So let's take a look here. Unreal, Ragdoll, lerp to pose. Blending from ragdoll to animation. Animation pose snapshots can capture a runtime skeletal mesh pose inside a blueprint and can be used for blending in and out of additional poses in the blueprint. When animating skeletal meshes, there may be instances where you want to take let physics take control of the mesh. After physics has been applied, using the animation pose snapshot feature, you can capture a skeletal mesh pose. You can then retrieve that information. You can then retrieve that information inside of an animation blueprint and use the save pose as a source to blend from. That's pretty much what I need. See the example video. Ugh, I don't want a video right now. All right, so what we're going to do is try this. We're going to see if we can get this to work. It's new to me, so it might be a little bit fun. Here you can see this big ol' empty slot. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to be get anim instance, kapow. And then we're going to want to save pose snapshot. And then we want to name it something. So we'll go ahead and name it fallen. Must be the name you provide must be used when attempting to retrieve the pose inside the animation blueprint. All right, so if we go into the animation blueprint, we can get the pose snapshot. So this isn't hard, but what makes it hard is that I don't know how to tell the blueprint that it needs to blur between this pose or not. Blend poses by bool is stopped. So I think we need to use the blend poses by bool function, but the problem is that our bool is the opposite. Our bool is there's also a snapshot pose option, but that doesn't change things. It's still blend poses by bool. So the only problem here is I don't know how to tell it that it needs to do this. Presumably I need to create another Boolean, which is the getting up Boolean. And then turn that on for a short amount of time and then turn it off. But the thing is, I want that to happen in the animation system. I don't want that to happen here. Let's go over to the animator and take a look before we do anything else here. Here it is. You can see it's already a little bit complicated. So, let's just take a look at what we're doing here. I should probably tag some of these elements so they don't suck quite as much. So this is the event graph, and this is the animation graph. The animation graph is where we're going to actually be doing this, as far as I know. And so what we need to do is over here, at the very last section, we need to blend between this and our pose. So if we get a pose snapshot, we name it what? Fallen, I believe we named it. We can change it later. And then we want to blend poses by bool. but this doesn't have access to any of the values in the original. So we're going to have to create a new variable, a new Boolean variable, which we'll call getting up. And then that's going to be what we use here. So we'll just drag that in. Oh, that's the wrong one. That might do it, but we don't have getting up set at the moment. So we need to set getting up, which we do here. And the way that that works is that we grab from the target, we can grab the variety of bools that we need to grab, which means that we do have to add that as a value here in the target. So I guess we'll do that. It seems kind of annoying to have to do that, but we'll do it. So this will be getting up Boolean, and we'll set that right here. And then down here we'll do the opposite. Right now this is very, very primitive because I probably will have to set it based on a timer instead, but that's kind of annoying too. We'll see. Either way. No, wait, hold on. The animation is fine, right? Right? Undo, 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 undo. Fine, just delete them. Delete, delete. Come on. Delete. Save, compile. Because this doesn't actually animate it while we are in Ragdoll mode, right? So can't we just set it to the opposite of is fallen? It's not called is falling, it's called something else. It's called fall over. No fall over. Alright, so where do we get it? Is it from here? Get controller. There is a way to transfer these values. Oh, here it is. See this? Balance. There it is. All right, so first things first, we're going to do some cleaning. This mess over here is just a giant squid of nonsense. Let's put in a knot. And then we'll do the set. But you can see that this set is kind of not linked in. We've got all of these sets all linked in right like this. That's not how we're going to do it because that is garbage. We are instead going to have a gate. What is not called a gate? It's called a flow control sequence. Yeah, this a sequence. The sequence should be a lot easier to deal with than trying to get all of these things constantly lined up. And it will also be a lot clearer. So that's what we're going to kind of just set up here. So you can see that sideways doesn't depend on any of this stuff. So we're going to have sideways be its own. Chiboop. These two things do depend. No, they do not. So Don't really know what the best way to visualize this is. I guess this might be the best way. It's a little bit iffy, but it's not too shabby, I suppose. And then here you can see we're doing the same shit again. So what we're going to do is just repeat the process for these. Oh, come on. I'm sorry I was off by a fucking pixel. There we are. Come on. And then delete these. Can I pull these up? I guess it would be a little... I guess it doesn't really matter. Either way. Here you can see we've got the same problem back here. We've got all these sets. I think we're going to go ahead and just do the same shit I just did. We'll have a couple of sequences. Try and clean this up if we can. So this is the first is valid set. And all of these require it to have been validated. This requires that we have a valid controller, which then when we cast it to a mech character, yeah, that's fine. We'll go ahead and leave it like that. This is like routing off to the side and then back though, so we probably want to try and figure out a better way to represent that. How about we bring this down here, and then we can just select all this shit and move it. All right, so that is more or less what we're looking for. We could clean it up even further, but for now that's fine. So now getting up is the opposite of falling over, but I don't know whether or not that's going to work. There's lots of stuff I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're going to go ahead and see. First off, we've got to make sure we didn't... so we lost something here. So the question is whether or not I refactored these sequences incorrectly or what. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and bypass the blend poses by bool thing to see whether or not we have it functioning aside from that. Yeah, okay, so the blend poses by bool is the problem. Now, the basic idea here is that the T-shape that we saw is what the blend pose defaults to when there is no blend pose. So we really do need to have this so that the... so that getting up is different. I don't want a new state machine. So we've got that not. We're going to just not and see whether or not that ends up working for us. So we're going to just delete that not and set this straight. The problem is I don't think it's going to work. We're going to find out here. The issue here is that it gets set immediately. And what we actually want it to do is lag by, I don't know, a second or so. Well, that's interesting. Well, that worked, but it does have the problem that it seems to be lerping to a neutral pose constantly instead of lerping to the pose we want it to lerp to. That's something strange. So over here, this is the animation. We're going in here. This is the walking, and the walking is what we're using. So note. False pose was visible but ignored. Oh. Well, that would explain it, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's try it one more time. Oh, good, 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 good. Seems so far so good. Boom. Ah! Crunch, 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 crunch. And then, boop. That was weird. Did that not take? That looked an awful lot like it was. I bet I just named it wrong. Hold on. So the pose that we're using is called Fallen in the blueprint. The pose that we're saving is called Fallen in the save pose snapshot. So that's correct. It's the same one. The question is why that pose didn't seem to catch. Okay, so it worked. It's just that it was super, super fast. And that time it wasn't. Okay, what's going on? Why is it sometimes super, super fast and sometimes not? I mean, it's a ridiculous idea, but what we can do is we can blend it to a neutral pose and then blend it into the final pose. We'll figure it out in a little while here. Actually, we've made better progress than I thought we would. It looks very goofy. There's got to be a way to make these ragdolls have better constraints. I'll look into that some other day. For now, we're going to stop and do something else for a while. Why are you still dead? Get up. Get up, you lazy asshole. Hold on. What's going on here? Oh, okay. That was weird. Okay. Anyhow, I will see you folks on the next week. Let me know if you've got any questions or whatever. And keep in mind that this is still just us learning how to do Unreal. This isn't really supposed to be a great game. Just trying to figure out how things work in the first place, because in Unreal, that is the challenge. Have a good one, everybody.